I want to change the world. As we become a more globalized and connected world, our minds become more open and aware to the kinds of issues we all face. Through petitions, protests, and all-round greater inclusion, we can see the way that the world now works together to solve these kinds of issues. When societies weren't as connected as they are today, problems were only ever thought of at, and therefore solutions were only ever built at, city level, region level, country level, never global level. There's no point in consulting England when the biggest issue of the day is the town hall in Kaitaia burning down. As such, it is crucial to be able to focus on that community when we start to think about these things. So as we face more threats than ever, the need to understand these threats is bigger than ever. So yes, I do want to change the world. Many, many people do. But how do we actually go about tackling these often overwhelming issues? I was lucky enough back in 2016 to attend the World Vision Youth Conference. I was on the executive team for my high school, and so I was lucky enough to go along. We heard from a range of inspirational speakers that day, as well as networked with a whole bunch more incredible people. One man there, Daniel Flynn, he told us a story that literally changed my life. Daniel Flynn is co-founder of ThenkU. Now, ThenkU at the time was selling water bottles. They're a social impact organization that give a portion of their profits to water projects across the world where the water and their water projects are needed most. He talked about a range of things that day, from being direct with the impact you have to being unique in the way you do things. But this story that he told really heartened me. He told us a time where he was trying to get their social impact water bottles into 2 major supermarkets in Australia. The team was struggling because the supermarkets just weren't willing to come to the table. But then the team did the one thing that changed the face of the entire project. They reached out to the community. Through just one social media post, the community ignited behind the cause. They started writing letters, they wrote messages to the supermarkets on social media, they tagged them on their Facebook boards, they even flew planes over the top of these supermarkets, all in the pursuit of creating positive change. That day, I took away a very valuable lesson. Community has the power to do anything. You see, these people created change for others thousands of miles away from them who they didn't even know. That inspired me. And so from that moment on, I knew I wanted to be a change maker. Be the change you want to see in the world. Although it was never actually said by Mahatma Gandhi, it has been attributed to him. And for me, it is one of the quotes that speaks to me the most. The concept of change is fascinating to me. And so I set out on a journey to understand the concept a little bit better in order to become the change maker I wanted to be. In the pursuit of understanding what change is, I booted up my laptop, I went to the one place in the world where I thought I could get to know a word a little bit better. Dictionary.com. Seriously. You know what Dictionary.com told me? Change is to make the form, nature, content, future course, etc. of something different from what it is or from what it would be if left alone. To me, that's useless. I wanted to understand the concept of change, not just what a direct process was. As such, I went to the next best place, thesaurus.com. But luckily enough, thesaurus.com had something interesting in store. Synonyms for change. Adjust, modify, revise, advance, innovate, transform. And as these words started to come at me, I could see that a separation could be made between 2 halves. On the left-hand side, adjust, modify, revise, they're kind of boring, uninteresting change, like changing from butter to Nutella on your breakfast in the mornings. Who really cares? Instead, on the right-hand side, advance, innovate, transform, they feel empowering, like the type of change that can really move communities and societies forward. As such, I denoted the second type of change, level up change. And it's realistically this level up change that I and many others want to see in this world. The kind of change that can really move communities and societies up and moving forward. So, it's great, cool. We've understood the potential surface level of what change we're focused on, but how do we actually go about doing something about it? I heard about a story about a man named Blake and his project, Tom's Shoes. Now, Blake had been across the world. He had seen levels of poverty that really struck him, and so he decided to do something about it. So he founded this project called Tom's Shoes, and it was a really great model. Basically, they worked on a buy one, give one model, where a customer in the United States could purchase a pair of shoes, and then another pair of shoes could be donated to a child in one of these impoverished countries. A great idea, right? Well, the issue is the project was having an impact, just not an entirely good one. You see, giving children shoes didn't really solve any of the real issues being faced by the community. Lack of access to food, to water, etc. I don't know about you, but I don't really like the taste of shoes. In fact, some of the local shoemakers were even being closed down because they just weren't needed anymore. And so what happened was, what had originally become a great idea turned to harm the communities they were trying to positively impact. And so that day I took away another very important lesson. It is crucial to understand your community before you want to do anything. Their needs are the ones that are important, and so focusing on them is the main crucial part to being able to create any positive impact you want to see. Only through directly talking to and understanding your community can you have a real impact on it. You see, for me, I've seen some really tragic things happen to our young people in the mental health space. And as such, I knew the change that I want to see in this world is focused on that. So, I took on the lessons from Daniel Flynn and Tom's Shoes. I wanted to understand the community. As such, I've talked to many, many, many young people about the state of mental health. And luckily enough, I was able to create a baseline for where to start. I don't feel my voice is valued in my own space. We don't get the chance to be truly heard. The adults just aren't listening. In these conversations with these sources of inspiration and knowledge, the most common theme coming through has been about the lack of youth voice in impact projects. And sure, whilst it's something I felt myself, it wasn't anything I was going to ever focus on without having actually had the conversations first. However, I'm a very practical person. I want to be able to actualize the conversations I've been having. And so what I did was I took this and put it through the lens of systems because, well, systemic change is the type of change we're trying to create, right? As such, I went to good old friend dictionary.com, but luckily enough this time dictionary.com had something interesting in store. A system is an assemblage or combination of things or parts forming a complex or unitary whole. A unitary whole. That concept stuck with me. That's what I wanted to see in the world. A community coming together, uniting together around these big issues that we all face. So, cool. I know I was kind of on the right path, but finding a method to understand the systems is crucial. Luckily enough, I kind of stumbled across a systems thinking approach called what's the iceberg model. The iceberg model tries to look at a system as a whole, tries to create a holistic view from many different perspectives, many different stories, all combining into creating one picture of a system. Now, the iceberg model split into 4 layers: event, pattern, structure, and mental model. And by conversing with people, we're able to actually take this model and potentially find some common themes that we can actually tackle and actualize to create some kind of change. Don't worry, I'm going to explain this with an example. There's going to be more to this. The example I'm going to use is something that's really common. I know happened to me a lot, and that's someone crying in the bathroom at school. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 sides to this. The person crying in the bathroom, we're going to call Raj, okay? Now, Raj has a best friend called Maddie, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to take the perspective of Maddie first, and then Raj, and then we're going to see if there's any common themes coming through, anything that we can feasibly tackle. So, in talking to Maddie, she's identified, yes, Raj was crying in the bathroom at school. Cool. In understanding her more, she identifies that there's a potential pattern behind this, that Raj has kind of been isolating himself, withdrawing from his friends. In trying to understand what the structures look like within Raj's life, we talk to Maddie more, and she kind of identifies that his friends, his whānau, those around him aren't really supporting him, as well as the high school counsellor just isn't really adequate or up to Raj's needs. So, support structures aren't working in Raj's life. But in going deeper with Maddie and actually talking to her further, getting to know her and understanding her wants and needs, she ends up saying this, that I don't know how to support my friend. I'm scared I'm going to say something that's going to make it worse. See, this is things I hear all the time. But we're going to pause, we're going to move that to one side, and then we're going to come back to Raj, okay? Now, Raj identifies the exact same thing. Raj is obviously the person who was crying in the bathroom at school. However, that is where the similarities almost stop. In talking to Raj, it turns out that actually his friends have been bullying him. And so he's needed to isolate himself in order to protect himself. Once again, in conversing with him more, we could talk about the structures in his life that lead us to be aware that realistically the support structures aren't working for him. Friends, whānau, high school counsellor, they're just not all supporting him quite right. But once again, in having the conversations, we're able to identify a potential mental model for Raj. Raj actually says that, I don't see any of my friends as support options. That's a lot, I know. But how do we do anything with this, right? We've got, I don't know, some quote marks, we've got some things. What do we actually do? Well, say we were trying to tackle this situation. Not fix, but tackle. Say we tried to remove the bullying from Raj's life. Great, right? That's perfect. It means that, he's not isolating himself. It means that no crying in school, right? Not quite right. What if the bullying comes back, or it happens to someone else? What we want to do is create a systemic patch for the issue as a whole, not just tackling Raj's life. As such, what we want to do is have a look at the mental models. Maddie said, I don't know how to support my friend, but Raj said, I don't see any of my friends as support options. You see, there's a similarity there around the lack of knowledge, approachability, or maturity potentially in high school students to be able to support their friends. And as such, a potential solution could be around an environment of education and support where young people get the skills to be able to support those around them. As such, that's why I founded Connects. Now, Connects operates as that platform of education. By delivering workshops in high schools, we give those skills to those young people. In being a connection point between those points of those sources of inspiration and knowledge, we're hopefully able to create some kind of systemic patch, not only for Raj, but for the community around him as well. So, only through actually talking to people can we really change anything. Through understanding those people, we can take a community-centered approach, focusing on those small stories, because those small stories are the ones that build the big solutions. So I implore you all, understand your people. Listen to their stories. Collaborate with them. And then go out and change the world. Thank you.